What's going down, guys? It's finally here, the second part for creating a professional search bar. For this tutorial, you don't actually need to watch the first video, which is for the styling and creating of the search bar. You can use your own. But if you want to follow this tutorial step by step, or you want to create a search bar that looks like mine, then you can check out the other video first. In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to actually get the search bar working and how to display a list of results from the database that relate to the search query. To do this, I'm going to be using PHP and MySQL. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. So if we're going to be continuing where we left off, this is what we should have after the first tutorial. This is what you should have, and this should be your search bar. So by the end of this tutorial, this is what we're going to be achieving. So you can type in a search query, for example, hello, and then as you can see it says 0 results found for hello, which was our search query. Okay, and you can see it appears there as well in the search bar at the top, the web browser search thing. So you can type in t-shirt, and as you can see it now says 2 results found for t-shirt, and it displays all the results for t-shirt. The links then that you can click on the title of those search results, and it will take you to, like, for example, 5.php or 1.php, whatever the ID is of that record in the database. Okay, so that's what we're going to be creating in this tutorial. So I have PHP MyAdmin, and I've already created a database called search bar tutorial. Obviously you can name your database whatever you want, and if we just take a browse in the products table that I've created, as you can see I've got an ID which is auto increment, it's an integer and it's a primary key. We have a title which is a varchar, max length of 40, and a description which is a text. And as you can see I've already inserted 6 records into the database, and these are basically items of clothing. So I'm just going to show you my folder structure now. So as you can see, obviously I'm using my USB for my XAMPP Lite, and in that folder I have a htdocs, and within there I create a new folder called tutorials, and then a new folder within that called search bar, and in there is where I'm going to be putting my files. So hold on a second. Right, so this is our original file, test. So we can delete index.php, that's what I just wanted to show you, what the end product would look like. So this is our file that I've brought over from the first tutorial. So we're just going to open that now in Sublime Text 2, or whichever text editor you prefer to use. And as you can see, this is the code that we typed up in the first tutorial, the first video. So now we're going to go to File and Save As, and basically we're going to need to obviously convert it into a PHP file, and we're going to rename it index.php within that same folder as our original file, which is test.html. It needs to be a PHP file for this to work. Okay, so we're going to leave a couple of lines at the top, and we're going to open PHP tags, and first of all we're going to establish a connection to the database. So $con equals MySQL connect, and this consists of 3 values. First of all, mine's localhost, then root, and then the last variable in there would be the password for the database, but I don't have a password on mine. Then we're going to establish a connection to the actual database. So $db equals MySQL select DB, and as you can see, my database is called search_bar_tutorial. So I'm going to put that in there. So whatever your database is called, you put that in there. And there we go. So we've established the connection to our database, and we're just going to test that that works now. So we're going to go down underneath our form for the search bar, and we're going to open another set of PHP tags. And in here, we're going to type up the query. So $query equals MySQL, query, and within here we're going to say select star or everything from product, which is the name of the table with my records in, and then we're going to create a new variable called $numRows, which is going to be equal to MySQL numRows and $query. So basically what's happened here then, we're going to echo out $numRows as well. So basically what's happened here is we have created a query which selects everything from table product, and then the numRows, that gets the number of rows or the number of records within that table in the database, and then we're going to echo out that number, that value. Okay, so file, save, refresh in the browser, and as you can see it says 6. This shows now that we've successfully established a connection to the database and we've selected the right table on our database, because we have a value of 6, and that's because if we look, there are 6 records in our database, 6 products. So that's displaying the right value and everything's working. So that's good. So now we can remove echo $numRows because we don't need that now. That was just as a test. Okay, and we're going to create a while loop. So while $row is MySQL fetch array $query. Okay. Then we're going to say $ID equals $row, if I can type, $row ID. $title equals $row title. And then finally $disk, which is short for description, obviously, equals $row description. So this basically targets the ID, the title and description within our database, those columns, and that puts them into variables that we can then use in PHP, and then we're going to echo these 3 variables out. Okay, and we're going to put a line break at the end to put each new record from the database on a new line, and we've got spaces in between there as well. And we'll put a little colon in after the ID, just so we can clearly see. So file, save and refresh in the browser, and you can now see that all the records from within our database have been displayed on the web page underneath our search bar. So we've got obviously the ID with a colon, then the name, the title of the product, and then the description of the product. Okay, so we can get rid of the ID part because we're not going to need that for this tutorial. You can keep that in if you want, but I'm not going to keep that in. So file, save and refresh, and you can see the ID disappears for each product. Okay, and we're going to add in a bit of HTML now, so I'm going to put in here within quotes the H3 tag surrounding the title, and I'm also going to put a paragraph tag surrounding the description, still keeping that line breaking at the end. File, save and refresh in the browser, and there we go. So you can see that now each record, each product title and description is nicely spaced out. So we can add a bit of styling in here now in our CSS. And I'm going to first of all target the body to set the font family to Arial. So we've got nice font styling for our content. And then I'm going to target the H3 tag, and we're going to set the margin 20 pixels at the top and then 0 at the right, bottom and left. Padding equals 0. And then we're also going to target the paragraph tag, margin 0 and padding 0. So now we can file, save and refresh in the browser, and you will now see that all our search records are nicely styled. Okay, so that's all good to go. So the next thing that we're going to need to do is What do we need to do next? Right, yeah, okay. So we need to change this query around now, and we need it to say select everything from product where title, like, and then open single quotes, and within there put two percentage characters, or description, like, and again open two single quotes and put percentages in there, 2%. So within the first one, we're going to put $Q, and also within the description, we're going to put $Q. So that's basically saying, because $Q is basically going to be our search query, okay? So it's basically saying select everything products where the title is like the search query and the description is like the search query. So now within our form, we need to change the action to index.php, method to get, and we need to add a name within our search bar, name equal to Q, so that Q matches that Q variable within our query. Index.php is obviously the same file as this one, because we want it to the results to display on this same page. So it basically refresh the page with the search results. So then at the top, within the top PHP tags, just before we establish the connection to the database and select the database, we're going to type in here a quick if statement. We're going to say if $_get Q is not equal to nothing, okay? Then we're going to indent everything here, and that means then at the bottom as well, well, basically what it's saying is, so if Q, because Q will be our search query, is not equal to nothing, so as long as our search query is equal to something, it has a value, then it will proceed, and the rest of the code within this file will be processed and will be carried out. So that means then at the bottom, right after the last HTML tag, we need to open another set of PHP tags, and in here we're just going to close off with a curly brace that if statement. So file, save, refresh. So now if we search something, we say type A, obviously that's a value, so that's fine. T-shirt is a value, and you can see that all of the records within our database for t-shirt that are related to the word t-shirt have appeared. If we type in socks and search for socks, all our records for socks will be displayed. If we type in 80, as you can see, it says 80% in the description for leather gloves, and the leather gloves appears. And you can see at the top in the search bar, Q is there, that's our search query, equals 80. Now the problem we've got here is if we just pressed go, if we just searched without typing a value in and left it as it was, because in this scenario we have a value in our search bar of search ... it searches for that. So we don't want that to happen. So we need to create another if statement just above that says if $_get Q equals or is equal to search ... then header location index.php. So this is basically redirecting the user, the page, back to index.php if the user tries to click go, click search, the search button, without typing any values in, without clicking on the search bar whatsoever. And this is to prevent the search bar from searching for search ... which is the default value within our search bar that we set in the previous tutorial. So you may not have that, which is not an issue, but we do in this case. So obviously, as you can see now, if we type in search ... and click go, it just redirects back to index.php, and it does nothing. It doesn't search for search ... as a value. So that's cleared up. So obviously now this is like validation for our search bar, so that people can't just type in anything they want or spam the search bar with various things. So at the bottom we're going to create an else onto the end of the if statement that we just created, and we're also going to add a redirect as well, header location index.php, so that basically if the search query is not equal to anything, okay, so if it doesn't have a value in the search query, okay, there isn't a value for the search query at all, then the page will redirect back to index.php. So in other words, nothing will happen. And we'll demonstrate that now after saving it. Refresh. So if we obviously click on the search, click within the search box and obviously search, nothing will happen. It will just redirect back to index.php, which is what we want. Okay, so there has to be a value in that search box for it to search now, for it to work, which is good. Right, so the next thing we need to do now is just at the top of these PHP tags, before we create our query, we need to type in another if statement and add another if statement which says if is not set $q, okay, then we want to echo nothing. So that's basically saying if the search query is not set, okay, then echo out nothing, okay, on the page, just blank. Else we want it to run the query and the while loop, etc. with inside that. So you'll see what happens now in a second and what I mean, because at the moment as soon as index.php loads, all the records from the databases are displayed, as you can see. But now if we refresh the index.php, no records are displayed until we search for a value. So obviously there's no results for hello in our database, there's no records, so nothing happens. But if we searched for A, obviously all our records have the letter A within the description and name, but t-shirt, for example, the two records will display. But index.php, the default, as soon as the page loads, no records will be displayed, which is what we want. We only want records to be displayed when the user searches for them. Our site visitors search for a particular record. So now we're going to close off, just after we create the numRows variable, we want to close off the PHP tag and then instantly open it again, because within here we're going to add some HTML. We're going to add a paragraph tag, a strong tag, which is basically bold, makes the text bold within it, and we're going to echo the numRows value within the strong tags, and then we're going to type results for, and then quotes, and within there we're going to echo out in PHP $q, which is the query. This is the search query that has been searched for. So now, file, save, go back to the browser and press refresh. So now if we search for a query, so hello, and go, it will now say 0 results for hello, and that's because there are 0 results in the database for hello. But if we type in socks, it will now say 1 result found for socks, because there is 1 result, there's 1 record in the database with socks in the title or description, okay, and then it will display the record underneath. So that's what we want. Now we're going to add a link for the title for the user to click on. So within the h3 tags down here, we're going to type ahref equals, and don't forget to close off the a tag as well after the title has been echoed out. Get rid of that a second, because we don't need PHP tags there. We just need to add a single quote, dot dot, and a single quote. And within these dots, we're going to type $ID. And then just after the single quote, we'll type .php. So basically what this will do now is it will create a link for each record displayed, that basically, once clicked on, will take the user or the site visitor to a page called, for whatever the ID of that product is, .php, as you can see there for socks. The ID is 2.php. So obviously you can use this to your advantage, and this is how you can add links so that when the user clicks on that search result, it will take them to a particular page on your website. As you can see for t-shirts, we've got 1.php for a white t-shirt, and for a blue t-shirt we've got 5.php, because each product has their own unique ID in the database table. So now in the styling, we can add in some we can add some rules for the a tag and the a hover tag. Sorry, and the a hover for the links. So in the a tag, we can add a colour of black and a text decoration underline. And for the hover state, again we can have a colour of black but a text decoration of none. File, save, and then when we refresh in the browser, you'll see that each search result, the title, the link for the title, will now be underlined and black. So if we search for Nike, obviously that search result appears, we can click on that link and it will say 4.php. Obviously there isn't a web page called 4.php that we've created, but that's there, and you can use that to your advantage, and you can manipulate that in your own way to link to various web pages on your site. So yeah, there we go. So that's just about it then for this tutorial, guys. I hope you found it useful. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you did find it useful and you did enjoy it and it helped you out in some way. Don't forget to subscribe to be notified as and when I upload new tutorials in the future so that you don't miss out. Share this video with anyone who you think may find this video useful as well and that may help them out. And leave any video suggestions in the comment section below. Your suggestions are always appreciated, and they will help me out creating new tutorials, because I want to create content that you guys want to see. So that's it then for this tutorial, guys, and thanks for watching.